Welcome, everybody. I hope that you've had time to join us, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today with Brenda Murray from Studio 56 Boutique. She's a wonderful person. We've had the opportunity to go on other trips together, and it works out very well each time. I'm Bryan Jernigan. I am a painter and an artist in the Washington, D.C. area. My mediums of choice include acrylic painting as well as pastel work. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I grew up in Southwest Oklahoma, but I came to Washington, D.C. about 35 years ago. I have been teaching pastel classes in this area as well as around the United States. And I've had the opportunity to go overseas a few times with wonderful groups, learning the basics of pastel. And I'm looking forward to this pastel conversation with Brenda. Brenda, you are with Studio 56 in Canada.
Yes, that's right. And today we're going to be talking about beautiful Costa Brava, the whole area of Costa Brava. Are you ready to go?
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah, so talk to us a little bit about why we should sketch Costa Brava.
all right, so this is Costa Brava is the name of about 200 kilometers of coastline in the northeast of Spain, just north of Barcelona, going all the way up to the border of France. It's widely regarded as one of the most beautiful stretches of coastline in Europe. It's very rugged coastline with lots of hidden coves and rocky outcrops and steep cliffs and pine forests. And so if you're an artist, it's just the kind of interesting landscape that really makes you want to pull out your paints or your pastels. And make a painting, make a sketch. But when we are taking a group on a tour of an area, we try to absorb as much history and culture as we can so that we can draw on that for inspiration for our art. And so we're not only going to be making art, but we're also going to visit museums and cathedrals and castles, and we're going to eat the local dishes and become immersed in the culture of this part of Spain. And in this part of Spain, most of the population speak Catalan, and most are also fluent in Castilian Spanish. How's your Spanish, Bryan?
I'm brushing up as we speak.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully, I'll be better than I have been. And just geography wise, for those of us who might have been to Barcelona, it's this area is just north of Barcelona. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right on the coast.
Excellent. And so while we're there, what are some of the things that we're going to be touring?
So next year in April, we're going to be staying in Girona, which is actually inland, and then we're going to go from there to visit the coast, and on 4 out of 5 of the days. And so Girona is a beautiful historical town that can trace its history back to medieval times. In the historic part of Girona, we'll visit remnants of the old Jewish quarter known as El Cal. And it has beautiful narrow streets and buildings, cobblestone streets. The Jewish community in Girona dates back to at least the 9th century, and the community flourished in Girona until the expulsion decrees of 1492. So we're going to be exploring Old Girona. We usually try to stay right in the historical center of a town when we visit there. And you're going to be teaching in a leafy park in the historic center of town called de la Gironella. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful city park with lots of green walking paths and greenery, and it's very lush with scenic views of the landscape. And do you know what you're going to be teaching there, Bryan?
It's a really great course, especially if you are new to pastels. So I would say we're going to start with the basics, looking at all of the materials that we need to do this, which is thankfully not very much, and they travel very well. So pastels and paper and just something to sketch on, and we'll be out in plein air. So I'm really looking forward to that because I think the weather is going to be amazing. But we're gonna, after talking about the basics of the materials, we'll do a few exercises and then start in with a simple landscape sketch, probably from that very park that we see. As long as we've got trees around us, which it looks like are going to be amazing, we'll have something to sketch. I usually start with trees and kind of a foreground and a background. We talk a little bit about aerial perspective, which is a great way to sort of simulate distance in a 2D surface and how we can mimic distance by using various values in pastel. One of the things in pastel that's slightly different than paint is that there's really not a lot of mixing opportunities. So we have a lot of layering that we do because it's a dry medium. And I think it's great to be able to travel with those because it's not messy. It's very forgiving. And if you feel like you have made a mistake or overpainted, you can just knock some of that pastel dust off with just a plain dry brush. So I think it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to start there in the park.
Cool. That sounds cool. So our plan on that first day is to also visit the Jona Art Museum, where we're going to see art pieces dating back to the 10th century. The museum itself is a very beautiful place. It's housed within the former Episcopal Palace, and it features elements from different periods, including medieval fortifications and Renaissance expansions. And
Yeah.
so it's going to be very cool.
I'm so pleased that we're going to be able to get a taste of the history of the place because I do think that that really does come out in the work that you do. And it's wonderful that we have a nice mix of learning about things and seeing things and then actually learning the medium of pastels. So that is a really great mix right off the bat. And
Yeah,
that's day one, right?
that's day one. Yeah. It's
All
going to be
right.
cool.
What happens on day two?
So on day two, we're going to take a private bus to the Empúries Archeology Museum. It's one of the most important Greco-Roman archaeological sites in Costa Brava. And here we're going to see remnants from Iberian, Greek, and Roman cultures that once thrived in this region. And as you can see here from the image, it's right on the coast. It's right on the beach there. So this site is also has very well preserved streets and temples and squares, and it dates back over 2,000 years. So
Yeah, that's
it's going to be
amazing.
very cool, very cool. It's not showing in this image, but there's some standing columns and temples, and I think there's a statue or so in here as well.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I did not realize, that whole area in Europe has really been touched by the Greeks and the Romans, and it'll be really interesting to be able to link that history as well. Now, can we sketch inside the archaeological site?
Yeah, absolutely. We will sketch during our art class in the formal art class and then afterwards during our cultural activities. But on this day, we're going to set up our workshop on a hiking trail called the de la Scala. Nope, called the Cami de Ronda de la Scala.
Okay.
And that hiking trail is right next to the archaeology site. And it's a hiking trail that goes almost the whole length of Costa Brava, and it has breathtaking views of the Mediterranean coastline. So we're not going to hike on the trail. We're not actually hiking on the trail. We're just going to go right next door to this open air archaeology museum to find that trail, which is right next door, and set up somewhere along that trail, close to the beach, close to the archaeology site, and you'll do your workshop there.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that this is going to be a really wonderful opportunity to see not only the history, but it looks like from every vantage point, we'll be able to see the Mediterranean. So that in and of itself is just very inspiring to me. And we'll definitely do some sketching and pastel painting, which is based on water and coastline. So I'm looking forward to that. So
Yeah.
that's 4 out of 5 days for this workshop.
Right
So
at the sea. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
that's amazing.
Yeah. I love the shapes in this image, by the way, of the trees. That
Yeah,
just like this sort of very structural shape that I don't know. It's very cool. I like that. They
yeah,
must have trimmed them. I don't know how they got it to do that.
it's very characteristic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've seen some trees sort of like this on my trips to Italy as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, in Rome, you see that. Yeah, so we're going to be spending a lot of time right on the beach, staring out at that gorgeous turquoise sea and just really relaxing, which I don't know about you, but whenever I'm by the ocean or the sea, it just calms me down. You just stare at it. It's very relaxing, and I love that. But this isn't really a beach vacation per se. But we will be spending time on the beach, and I'm sure there'll be opportunities for people to swim if they really want to. But anyway, we'll get lots of opportunities to paint the sea, that's for sure.
Uh, we might as well take advantage of it while we're there. I'll put my toes in the water for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So I think people are going to need to be bringing in lots of turquoise and blues. That's
Yeah,
going to
for
be
sure.
predominant.
Yeah, definitely see that as a possibility. I mean, the water is just azure and up against the light value of the coastline with the rugged rocks and the trees. It's just going to be amazing to be able to sketch that and to paint in pastel
Mhm.
just that beautiful coastline.
Yeah, it's going to be very cool. So we're also going to be visiting a gorgeous beach called Cala Giverola, and this stunning beach has really gorgeous. Look at the water there. My gosh, they're
Yeah.
gorgeous, crystal clear water, golden sand, surrounded by cliffs and little coves and so on. It's just going to be very inspiring, I think.
I think so too. And that's something that I always try to look at when I am painting water is, noticing how the watercolor changes as you get closer to the shoreline. I mean, you can see in this photograph, there's just a touch of that turquoise green, and then almost into kind of a deep blue before you get out toward the horizon line, which is just amazing, breathtaking.
It's very beautiful. Yeah, I love the Mediterranean.
So I understand that while we will be spending a lot of time near the coast, we are also visiting small towns. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're going to explore a place called de Mar. It's the only remaining fortified medieval town in the Costa Brava coast, and it was built early in the 13th century. It was constructed to protect the town from pirate attacks.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, which is seems like something out of a movie, but
Yeah,
these well-preserved walls feature impressive battlements, and there's several interesting towers there. It's only showing, well, no, you can see three or four towers, and also the architectures of military design, medieval
hmm
military design.
Yeah, I can,
So that's going
I
to be cool.
for sure. I can already, I have ideas about, this particular view. We could, tackle the whole thing, although that might take a little while. So we can break it down into smaller versions or cropping into what is there and making it a little bit more digestible for us as artists. But the scenery is amazing and it's linking the history as well. So I'm so excited to be able to take a small group there.
Yeah, it's going to be
Um,
cool.
and we're going to be sketching right here at this vantage point.
Yep, but possibly. I mean, we'll have to see where exactly people want to set up. Maybe it depends on weather and on shade and so on. But we're gonna paint and sketch as much as we can, even after our art class, because we're there and we're inspired and we don't want to miss any opportunities.
That's
So,
right.
but I mean, if people kind of get sketched out and they just want to relax, go for a swim or sit in a seaside outdoor patio and have a coffee, then that's also fine too.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, this sounds amazing to me because I'm just thinking about how I teach and the variations on the subject matter. So we've got in-town sketching in Girona. We've got an archaeological site. There's definitely trees and sky and water and coastline, beaches. What else are we going to be seeing?
Also, we're going to be sketching in a beautiful garden. We're going to visit the Capiz Gardens. These gardens are perched on a cliff, right on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean Sea.
Beautiful.
And it has a breathtaking view of the coastline and nearby islands. And this garden features over 1,000 different plant species from regions around the Mediterranean, and it features things like palms and cacti and aromatic geraniums, which I'm going to really check out because I have geranium window boxes around my house, and none of them have any aroma at all. So
Ah,
yeah. So this
I,
beautiful garden was established in 1927, and there's also a castle on the grounds. So, I mean, if people want to include some architectural elements in their sketch, they can do that as well.
I think that's going to be amazing. Yeah, and actually, I'm making a note right now. I do a process specifically about flowers and how to create them kind of in up close, but within their own natural environment. And that sounds like a perfect place for that kind of module, if you will. So I'm super excited about that as well. It's going to be gorgeous.
It is, yeah. It looks beautiful. I mean, it's going to be really fun to sketch. They're very colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, plus we're also going to be sketching in two medieval villages. The
Oh,
first one
fantastic.
is called Pals, and it dates back to the ninth century again. I think the ninth century seems to be a time when they really had a lot of population growth there.
Mhm.
It's one of the oldest towns in the Costa Brava region. It's very Pinterest worthy town with lots of Gothic and Baroque elements, and there's a tower and remnants of the original castle. It's a hilltop town, and so there are different places where you can go and get, I think they're called miradors in
Mm,
Spanish, where you can go and get a view of the surrounding landscape. And surrounding this hilltop town are fields full of rice. They grow rice in that area.
hmm.
And Eastern Spain is renowned for its traditional rice dishes, such as paella,
Yes.
since rice was first introduced to Spain by the Moors in 1200 AD. And so we'll be sure to sample the local rice dishes when we're there. Are you a paella fan, Brian?
I'm a super paella fan. I've had an American version, which is much quicker and easier to put together, but I also have had traditional Spanish paella when I was in Barcelona, and it's definitely worth the wait. It's just wonderful, and usually it has not only rice, but usually has seafood in it as well. And so if you're a seafood lover, then you're definitely going to love paella. Although I think you can get it without seafood too. So
Yeah.
either way, you're going to be set. I'm just looking at this photograph that you have up, and just noticing the fact that there are a lot of details in here, but we in my teaching, I try to explain how to simplify some of those details so
Yeah.
that you're not painting every single stone that you see. And also, I love the fact that there are just arches that seem to be everywhere. That's, I guess, very Moorish in its Spanish influence. So I do that quite a bit with. We have a lot of bridges around where I live, and so I love doing arches as well. I can't wait.
I think you're gonna get lots of opportunities to paint arches for sure.
I think that's fantastic. Now, Pals is not the only place that we're going that's kind of a medieval town, right?
Yeah, no, this I mentioned there were two. Well, I mean, Girona is also a medieval town, especially when since we'll be focusing on the historical center of town.
Mm,
But the second small town that we'll be visiting is called Besalú, and it has a rich history that dates back to Roman times. And we're going to walk the cobblestone streets and see a 10th century monastery and a 12th century synagogue and castles and Romanesque and Gothic churches. Besalú has a fortified bridge that spans
mm.
the Fluvia River, and it has seven arches and a fortified tower. So that's going to be really cool to see
Yeah,
Besalú.
that's going to be amazing. And the thing that I like about the photos that you have been showing of Besalú is the fact that um, within the river, that water area, there is I'm seeing a lot of reflections, and that's just another element that we deal with in pastel. And there are really great and pretty easy ways to mimic reflections in water. So I'm so looking forward to that. Um, these buildings also, I think, are pretty amazing because they're pretty simple to create.
Mhm.
So if you break them down by simple shapes, rectangles and squares and a few triangles here and there, I think it's pretty easy to get the flavor of this medieval town. So I'm certainly looking forward to getting people to experience that and seeing how their pastels work out.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. I don't know anything about pastels, so I'm gonna be staring over your shoulder and just, I'm gonna be pretty wowed, I'm sure, by how you can do that. Be
Well,
fun.
I think the beauty of pastel is the fact that it's kind of a bridging medium. So I know a lot of your clients are very interested in sketching, and we do a lot of sketching in the run-up to our pastel work. So we'll get a lot of practice doing sketches that get you warmed up and then moving into pastel. So I think attendees who come to the Costa Brava program are going to be able to do some sketching and keep those sketches along with them, and then also do some sketches that then go into pastel because I just think it's a very versatile, forgiving medium that works on the go. So I'm super excited about it. But this town it's the last day, right?
Second last day, and the last day, or no, maybe it is the last day. Can't quite remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter because there's chances are we might have to switch around the order of events.
Okay.
Before we go, the last thing we're going to do is visit the Girona Cathedral.
Mm.
This cathedral is a stunning example of Catalan Gothic architecture, and it's remarkable because it has the widest Gothic nave in the world, measuring 75 feet across. And construction on this cathedral began in the 11th century.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this photo and it feels very familiar to me. I don't know why. I can't.
Because there's all these soldiers with spears.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see that so often. No, the reason it looks familiar to you is because Jona Cathedral is one of the filming locations for season 6 of Game of Thrones.
Ah,
And
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, it represented King's Landing.
I
But there's what it actually looks like. So they filmed it there and right on the steps of the Girona Cathedral.
wow.
So it's going to be pretty cool to see the cathedral. And if you're a Game of Thrones fan, take some pictures there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I mean, I hope I've answered the question. Why sketch Costa Brava? I think Costa Brava is really a beautiful area. It's it really has everything. The medieval buildings and small towns and beautiful weather and great, reflections in the rivers and lots of cobblestone streets and gorgeous flora and sea views and beaches. And I think it's going to be a really fantastic workshop in Costa Brava. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I just am super excited about all that Costa Brava offers, and I love the fact that it's not a place that's generally super well traveled, and so it'll be exciting to be able to see this place for the first time and to kind of get a glimpse into the history behind it. It's just breathtaking.
It is, yeah. So have I left anything out?
Let's. Oh, Salvador Dali, right? He was from this area.
Yeah, that's right. Salvador Dali is a son of Costa Brava, and I'm sure we're going to see some of his art on the first day in the Jona Art Museum.
Yeah, I look forward to that. He's in my other life in art. I do a lot of abstract painting, and I think that that will be a really great thing for me to see. But just the fact that he's from there and he is was part of that area, I think we should be able to take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Be
Well,
really
thank
fun
you
to
so
see.
much for chatting with us today. Yeah,
Oh,
why don't I give them the website address to register? That is www.studio56boutique.com. And if you go there, you can easily access Brenda. She can answer any questions that you might have about registering or traveling. You've been traveling a lot, so you're very adept at European travel if people have questions.
yeah, that's right. So if you are interested, this workshop will be held next April, and the early bird deadline when you can get $200 off is November 18th. It's the deposit deadline for this workshop. So if you're interested, there you go. Look us up on our website, and happy to answer any questions by email if you like.
Yeah, and I am as well. So feel free to reach out to me at www.bryanjernigan.com. And then both between Brenda and I, we should be able to cover the waterfront in regard to this travel event. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're looking forward to it as well. And look forward to seeing everyone sign up.
That'd be great. All right. Bye, Brian.
Thanks so much, Brenda.
Yeah,
Have a good
take
day.
care. Yeah, you too.